Live at the 1-800 Bad Pain Studios. I got my handy dandy, trusty, trusty producer for Gorilla Boys podcast. He's become my unofficial, unpaid producer for I Might Be Late on Monday. It's Tuesday. So when I come in and I get ready for Gorilla Boys podcast. Nobody's here. I'm on time. I'm very punctual. Not to my own horn. I wish I wasn't. But nobody's here. So I shoot. I might be late on Monday. No, so I whip out my camera, which is my iPhone 16, and I say, Cisco, what we got to talk about today? And he goes, well, a lot, cause Cisco be up on that shit. I don't, and so he says, did you hear about Trump? And it's all Trump's in the news. Trump is my all time favorite United States president of all time, and it's not even close. It's not even close. To the point where a close family member texted me one day and said, "Hey, you pro Trump?" I said, "Define pro Trump." I don't know what that means because for me, I don't believe this is what Trump solidified with me. So the last three presidents solidified this truth about the United States presidency and the seat. It's not a real thing. We had a black president who promised nothing. He ran on a promise of nothing. He ran on a promise of hope, which is by definition nothing. He literally said, "We're gonna hope for the next 8 years that I'm president that things go well." And black people were like, "Yeah, yeah." Oprah said we should vote for him, and so we voted for him. And the first time I voted for him, first time I was allowed to legally vote for a president, I voted for Barack Obama. But now I know better, and so and so Obama did. I won't go into the Obama thing because people love Obama. He had the charisma, the cachet. People just loved Obama, no matter what he did. Obama did a lot of wicked. Obama's 8 years in presidency, they kind of mirrored Trump's, except he just had more charisma. It was cooler. He definitely shipped out immigrants at an alarming rate. Donald Trump would have to be president for another 24 years to deport as many people as Barack Obama. That's a stat I made up, but it sounds true. And then we had Joe Biden, and Joe Biden almost instantly appeared to have dementia. So much so by the end of his presidency, or like 3 years, the first year he was visible riding his bike, he kept falling off his bike, which is crazy. That's how old he was. He kept falling off his bike, and he clearly had dementia. It got to the point at the end of his presidency, he thought that his chef and his maids in the White House were his slaves. Like he went so back in his archives where he was like, "What are you guys doing in the kitchen?" He's like, "You're the president." They had to shield him from the world like Drake's first kid. And then after all of that, no, but Biden was before Biden. It was Trump, right? The first time.
Yeah, first Trump.
The first. So okay. We so it was Obama. Then it was Donald Trump, which in no civilized society should Donald Trump be president. Even 20 years ago, where he was more coherent and sharper, Donald Trump should not be our president. Like, there was a movie called Idiocracy. You ever seen Idiocracy?
It's a good movie.
Idiocracy is a good movie. If you have never seen Idiocracy, go see Idiocracy, where technology has basically made all of us stupid.
That's the first black president.
We had our first black president was on Idiocracy. It was Terry Crews, which was a former wrestler. Like, we're living in Idiocracy right now. So we had Obama, the first black president who did nothing for black people, didn't promise black people nothing, and black people still love him to this day. Bizarre, weird, that's none of my business. And just like anything in the world, if something is considered wrong, we do like a complete autocorrect. So the complete autocorrect from Obama is to hire uh, a, a rich. What do you call it? What do you call a rich kid that comes like somebody that comes from money? Nepo, not just nepo,
No,
but
privileged.
privileged nepo lunatic who's been a lunatic for the 50 years he's been
Yeah.
in the public. He's been an absolute not a real person to the point where when he's running for president, and I'll stand by this, and I don't believe I'm wrong. When he initially started running for president, I don't believe that he wanted to be president. To the point where he was starting to like get traction, and somebody in his camp was like, "Hey, you know what? You might win this shit." He was like,
He's like, oh
"What
God.
the?" To put it in perspective, the president makes $400,000 a year. To be president, you have to you can't own like corporations that affect the economy. So which is what Trump has corporations that affect the economy. He's a multi-billionaire, or he has multi-billion-dollar assets. So you have to basically sign that over to someone, which it's like a handshake wink because he signed it over to his like kids or some shit, which they're gonna get it anyway. He still gets his control. It's like LeBron who has like a sports agency, but his friend runs it, so they say it's his friends. They say it's Rich Paul's, but it's kind of like that. But just to put it in perspective, you go from running billion-dollar corporations and making hundreds of millions to $1 billion a year. You're making crazy money to making $400,000 a year and having an actual job. And so for him to like be this privileged guy who's never actually had a job, who like is cling to like hard work and like snatching yourself up by the bootstraps and saying, when I was 21, my dad gave me a loan of $1 million, a meager, and that was like in the 70s.
Yeah.
So like that $1 million now, just to put it in perspective, if somebody gave you that amount now, it'd be like $13 million. Like if somebody gave you $13 million loan, you say, "Hey, my dad just gave me a meager little $13 million loan, and I had to figure it out on my own." So at that point, I realized that this shit ain't real. Like the person who sits in this seat does not run the free world. There's no way you can convince me otherwise. There's no way that I'm going to be like, nah, it's just democracy. No, it's no way. And how I know the first time Trump ran and won, the world didn't explode. Oh well, we had the pandemic, which was another thing. Like so randomly we have a random life altering historic event where we have literally somebody who's not qualified to tie their shoes running the free world. And we didn't explode. We didn't blow up. Came back stronger. It makes me think, damn, this is not a real thing. Like the president of the United States is not a real thing. So after 4 years of Trump, where the world didn't explode, didn't blow up, we had a pandemic that was kind of crazy. Like I think I said it last week. It didn't really affect us in Florida, so I can't really give you a real like scope of how things really worked during that. But once again, the hard correct. So we no longer wanted Trump as a country. I don't say we because after Obama twice, I was like, this isn't real. But but that's another story. So after a tumultuous election period, he stages a coup and almost has his supporters unalive his vice president. He's out. Again, this is not a real thing. This doesn't really happen if this was real. So then we got Biden. And again, by the time Biden came into office, he was long in the tooth.
Yeah.
He was so not there anymore that he literally got on the largest black platform obviously doing the campaigning for black votes, and he goes, "If you don't vote for me, you ain't black." And everybody was like, "Ha, he's so funny." When it's like, no, he's lost his mind, and you're not allowed to say that.
And he was racist. He was pro-segregation.
He was pro-segregation. He was pro-segregation.
Pro-segregation.
He helped author the crack bill. Yo, the fact that black people love Joe Biden is another pointer that none of this is real. Because the people who are old enough to vote for Joe Biden, their parents, my parents, or my uncles and aunts and my grandparents and my friends' grandparents, their lives were destroyed by the crack bill that he authored that was targeting the black community. Harsher crime, harsher penalties for hard cocaine as opposed to soft cocaine. And if you want to go into that crime bill, you can go look into it. And the fact that, and these are just, maybe the presidency's always been this bizarre, and I just was old enough to really understand the patience to it. Obama time. Because Bill Clinton coming out playing the saxophone to get black votes is crazy when you think about it.
He's the blackest president there.
The blackest president. So, and if I'm seeing this and I'm just some random person from Florida saying like, yo, Biden has dementia. Like, what are we doing? I know the people around him knew that it should have been planning for the next move. But Joe Biden did the craziest thing, which really isn't crazy when you have dementia. At the end of his term, he realized, oh shit, I'm the president. I don't want to do this no more. And then he said, yeah, I ain't doing it no more next time. And the whole party said, what are we going to do? So then they dusted off somebody who was completely unelectable 4 years before. Like completely unelectable to the point where it was like laughable that they brought her name up. And they dusted her off and they put a PR around her. And they made you believe that this woman could be president, who had no coherent thought, couldn't tell you anything she stood on. She just said, basically in her voice, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black, is essentially what she was saying. And she ain't black. That's another conversation. Black people don't like when you say that, but she isn't.
He's not black.
So Donald Trump runs again after staging a coup. And so, Your Honor, I'm laying down my case as to why this office that's been so revered for 200 years is not a real office. Because guess it's just as sure as the day is long, he's reelected by a rather large margin. And that was it. That was the final. This isn't a real thing. And so from that point he's been elected last year to this point now, everything that he does is 100% comedy. Like it's the funniest thing on the planet to me. Because people react to it and say, oh my God, can you believe that he did? And it's like, yes, I can believe he did this. He's done, like, there's nothing he's done this presidency that's worse than him staging a coup at the end of his last presidency. Like, literally saying, hey, if y'all with me, you guys take out my partner. Take him out. I'm going to tell you where he's at right now. I'm going to tell you how to get in. Go do it. So anything after that, I just think it's hilarious. I get the biggest kick out of it. I don't think this is a real thing. Which brings me to the news today. So when I come in and I say, Cisco, what you got for me? And he say, hey, did you hear about Donald Trump in D.C., man? He called in the National Guard. So what was the official release of that, Cisco?
The official release? Well, he came out and said that he's taking over Washington D.C. Because there's too much crime.
Too much crime.
So he said that the National Guard is coming to take over. So the police isn't in charge anymore. Now there's a bigger chain of command.
That's crazy. Have you ever been to DC?
No.
DC. So if you've never been to DC, which if you've never been to DC, this will probably shock you. But DC is majority black.
That's
So
what,
yeah, so when you go to DC,
that's why there's so much crime.
that's why they have so much crime. No, no. It's also it's also pretty poor, which is probably why I have a lot of crime. Because there's I think what's Howard's in DC. Howard's in DC, right?
Yeah, it's a black city, man.
Howard, Hampton, yeah. So like a bunch of black schools are in DC. It's full of it's rich in culture, it's rich in black people, that all that kind of stuff, which which would make you like literally if you go see the White House, you go to all these monuments, the behind you is the hood. Like but I love these. DC is a beautiful place. It's a good time. It's a great time. Now, now Donald Trump saying, "Hey, it's too much crime here. I need to," is a Karen thing to do. It's literally like white people have this. Maybe this might be not just a white people thing, but it may just be a privileged thing. But maybe not. White people have this thing that nothing's happening unless it affects them. So as long as Donald Trump's been coming to DC or been around DC, if he just start deciding, hey, oh man, so much crime, we need to figure this out, means that he ain't been paying attention to it to it's really literally outside of his window. Because also this presidency, Donald Trump spending a lot of time in the White House. The first presidency, which also was another sign that this isn't a real thing, he was still home. He was just in West Palm Beach just chilling. Like, it's just like, hey, you know you're the president, right? He's like, yeah, I just gotta let me get these 18 holes on my on my lawn, and then we'll figure.
Properties are nicer than the White House.
But you're the president. You're not.
Like, I don't want to stay that piece of shit.
I tell you one thing. One thing Trump did as president this go round and last go round is he did shit that you didn't know that the president was allowed to do. Like I didn't know you were allowed to not live in the White House. Like to just be like, nah, I'm not. Nah. And then he also he moved the portrait of President Obama, and then who else?
Bro, he did a lot. Didn't you see what they did with the Rose Garden? He pretty much just completely got rid of it.
What'd he do? What'd he do to it?
Because the Rose Garden was a historic place that I think it was the Kennedys who made this beautiful rose garden, and he just made it into a patio. And now they're saying he's building a whole like ballroom now, a golden ballroom.
Yeah, it's like 20 million. Yeah. Oh man, yo, it's not like this isn't real. Like I don't believe that this is real. I just don't. I just don't. And so, Secura says second generation wealth. Mr. T Lord of what? Thank you guys for tuning in.
It's a good way to put it, second generation. He just like, I'll spend it.
Second generation. Yeah, it is.
It's not even him, it's the taxpayer money that's doing it.
That's true. That's true.
He's not paying for it.
I think like so I grew up in Winter Park, right? I grew up in Winter Park, and I used to so now there's like there's two Publixes in Winter Park now, but one of them is there's one the Hollyanna Publix, which we're closer by, and then there's one literally like a block away in the Winter Park Village. But that that Publix used to be an Albertsons. So my first real job was at Albertsons, and like I said, it is Winter Park. And just for a quick history lesson, Winter Park is old, is founded by old white money. So old money came down. They built an area right here in Winter Park. Of course, there's like some poor little corners of poor areas in Winter Park where the black people live, but it's still old money essentially. So people who come shop at Albertsons for the most part, which there's no Albertsons in Florida anymore. I don't know if there's. I don't know if there's Albertsons still, but Albertsons is a grocery store essentially. It's like a Publix.
California, I think there is still.
Maybe I think there's Albertsons in California. So if you like stumble across this in California, Albertsons like we had them here too now. But
There were Safeways.
Safeways and yeah. So people so old money would come in like Orlando Magic players like Horace Grant and Doc Rivers and all these people would come in and shop at Albertsons. And I was a bag boy, so my job was to bag the groceries, help people to their car, bring shopping carts in. That's my job. And the thing about old money is, especially old money. You're talking about Trump, where like his parents had money and their parents had money. They don't have like a real idea of what things cost. So so if I go out and I take this guy in his Rolls Royce and he's 73 years old. This is back when I'm 17, 18. And he'll tip me, which is customary tip when your service worker is providing your service. But the thing that tells you that a person doesn't understand money, because the tip could be a nickel, it could be $100 bill. it's it's just in their mind it's the gesture, and it's just like here thanks for doing that. So you never know what tip you're gonna get. You can get a nickel or literally $100 bill, $20 bill, $10 bill, $5 bill, and it isn't them like saying like, hey, here's my change. It's literally them not understanding that $100 or even $20 or $10 could change my day. So to them, it's just a customary exchange. You did this for me. Here's a tip, and that's how I look at. Of course, growing up in Winter Park, I went to middle school in Maitland. Grew up in Winter Park. I went to school with mixed race kids. A mixed batch of kids, but some wealthy, some not. Some people from where I'm from, and it made me have an understanding of how people with money think and look at life, and some people are just oblivious. So like some things that Trump does, I get a kick out of it because I know that there's some things that even though he's 70 plus years old, he just don't get. He's completely out of touch, which most presidents are. Most presidents, not most, every president that's been a president has been very wealthy. You know, like even when like Obama was running for president, they tried to like position it as if he was like of the people, but Obama comes from money. I don't think people know that he comes from money.
Comes from Kenya.
Yeah, debatable. But his father he wasn't broke either. Like he comes from money on both sides. But he's gay. It's funny. It's funny. And this is a side note. I'm sorry I ramble, but one episode of Gorilla Boys, we were talking about Obama, and I was like looking at, I was like, yeah, he had the letter. She was like, Joe was like, nah, I got to read the letters. He read the letters. He didn't say nothing else about it. but that's what Trump reminds me of. Trump reminds me that sometimes folks just don't get it because they come from a different walk of life. They never ever had to experience struggle to the point where like, you know how out of touch you have to be when you're talking about hard work and you go, hey, I had to get it on my own too. My dad just gave me a simple little $1 million loan, and to be dead serious about that. And of course with inflation, that loan would be like $13 million a day. So that's like at that time $1 million in the '70s was like $13 million a day, which is crazy how inflation has gross in the last 50 years. Inflation has accelerated in such a way, but so a lot of things that Donald Trump does is he's just completely out of touch. And that's why I find humor in a lot of the stuff, because some of the stuff he just don't know. He's been privileged his entire life, and he's 70 plus. So he's like see, like I don't like to throw around dementia and see now, even though I think Joe Biden, even though that's like just my personal opinion, I'm not a doctor or anything. I think it was obvious that his mind was completely grits. Um, but now I think Trump has just been so out of touch for so long. Well, not even out of touch. He's never been in touch with poor people, or not even poor people, just the working class person. He's never been in touch with the working class person. He's never had to be anything but himself. The self-absorbed, arrogant person. The worst thing about being self-absorbed is when everyone around you is self-absorbed and nobody tells you. So some of the stuff that some of the stuff that Trump does, 99% of it, I think it's hilarious. Even and because you have to find humor in this kind of stuff, man. Um, I just, there's so there's so many other things that you can allocate funding and resources to than DC, especially in this light. And then even if you did so, you don't have to make an announcement about it because it just sets a precedent. I mean, not even a precedent. It just it creates a narrative that don't have to be a narrative. And but that's my president, man. But that's all I. What else? Is there anything else?
I mean, that was the main thing dominating the news recently. Some people want the Supreme Court to repeal gay marriage.
Listen.
People are trying right now.
Since
the judges are so conservative right now.
Repeal gay marriage again. If gay people want to be miserable like the rest of us, by all means, like do your thing, man. You know when like people like put so much energy into things that don't really matter, like if gay people get married, who cares? I don't. I genuinely don't care. Um, I think this is the reason why I'm not so I'm not so engulfed in political talk and BS is because I realize that I realize that this matrix works the way it's supposed to work, the way it's designed to work. So putting your energy in so many things that it works. So even if you eradicate it, it'll just balance to something else that you don't like or you don't love or that you buy that gets your attention. And it's just designed that way. It's designed for you to feel like you're fighting against something. And most of the things that you're fighting, like the things that normally really matter, are the things that are like concrete that you can touch, that are close to you, your family. And really your immediate family, your friends, the people that you're around all the time. Everything else is just moving independently of you in together at the same time to work the way it works. And so for people to for people to care so much about a portion of life that doesn't affect you at all, you can't catch the gay. You can't. You know what I mean? So we have this thing where like if they're influencing. Now don't get me wrong. There is agendas to push certain agendas for certain gain and reasons, but I do know that all these things that we decide is a problem are still fringe things that only grow and expand when we blow on them. And pause.
Blowing or nothing.
Take it for somebody who's been married, man. If you want to sign up for that, then bless your heart. Like, man, that's. Have you ever seen an old gay couple?
No.
It's rare.
What
I think it's rare.
are you implying?
I'm just saying, like, man, why complicate things but caring about decisions that don't matter or don't really affect our day to day? It all works the way it's supposed to work, even if it ain't working.
Yeah.
But that's another episode of I Might Be Late on Monday. Cisco with the alley oop. We're at the studio 1-800 Bad Pain Studios, lawyer referral. If you've slip and fall, car accident, give them a call. Tell them I sent you. Beat it up in the comments. Tell me what you think. Like and subscribe. Share. No comment is a bad comment, even if it's saying something negative about me, man. I'll see you guys Monday. But I might be